but 600 watts of power. Oh, what's going on, guys? Got another amp dyno video for you. If you guys like the last Sony one we did, the XM-554, we got a bigger old school Sony amp to do next. This is the Sony 600 watt XM-554ZR 4-channel. Pretty sleek design. I got this off a buddy of mine, Anthony. He gave it to me. He said that someone gave it to him literally at a storage unit saying, hey, do you like car audio? Gave it to him, and Anthony gave it to me. He said, hey dude, why don't you test this? And I was like, heck yeah, man, I'll give it right back.
Mine.
No problem, dude. So finally got it going. Now we got spade terminals again, like the last Sony we did. Two 25 amp fuses, and then we got the 2 channels right there with the own separate gain. We got our 2 low level pre-outs and our high level, also with our gain for the other set of channels, and with a low active crossover at 80 hertz. Now this amp, it's kind of heavy, but again, this is an older amp. It's very it's not in the best condition, but I would give it a C plus. It's got some nicks on it, but I mean the gist of the amp is there. Nothing is broken. But that's not what we're here to talk about, this particular amp. We're here to talk about how much power can it do. So let's go throw this on the bench and see what kind of numbers we can get. It's rated 55 RMS by 4 on 4 channels at 4 ohms and 2 ohms. It's rated 65 RMS on each channel by 4, and how they list it in the manual is 65 by 4, 130 by 2, or 260 by 1, which we're gonna do. So let's figure out how much power this amp can do. All right, let's see what we can get on the bench test here. We're gonna do a 4 ohm certified run, a 4 ohm uncertified run, 2 ohm certified, and 2 ohm uncertified, and I'm going to let you know as we go through how many channels we are testing, how many channels we have been driven, all that fun stuff. So without further ado, we're going to do a 4 ohm load on 1 channel. 2 are driven, but we are only testing here for 1. Let's see how many watts we can get up to 1% THD at 4 ohms on 1 channel. So they rate this at 55 watts at 4 ohms on each channel and 65 watts at 2 ohms on each channel. We're going to see if we can at least get 55 watts RMS at 1% THD. Let's hit it. Quick note, we are pulling 2.4 amps at idle. This does pull a little bit higher amperage at idle compared to some of the other amps that I've tested. Not bad at all. We did 64 watts at 3.9 ohms, close enough at 1% THD. That's pretty impressive, I gotta say. Now this is only 2 channels driven out of 4, so maybe there is a little bit of headroom extra since we don't have this whole amplifier bridged down. But still a good score nonetheless. Let's see what we can get uncertified. That already did the 2 ohm rating, which is pretty impressive. I'd say about that. That's close enough to our 10% THD. 98 watts at 11% THD at 4 ohms on 1 channel with 2 channels loaded. But still, that's good. In a sense, I guess you could say 400 watts in a perfect world, but let's keep testing. So next up, we're going to do the 2 ohm load, but let me wire everything down, bridge it out, and be right back. All right, now we have all the channels being driven. We are bridged at 4 ohms, but 2 ohms per channel. Let me get as close as we can here to 2 ohms and at 1% THD. Now this thing isn't really technically rated for 2 speakers. It says 65 by 4, so that's 260 watts total at the 2 ohms per channel. So let's see if we can get 260 watts out of this 600 RMS amp. Well, not RMS amp, but 600 watts of power. Let's see what we can get. Wow, just got there, 261 watts. Holy moly, we were pulling some current too, way over the fuse rating. We only have 2 25 amp fuses on here, and we got it at even at 2.2 ohms per channel. We got the 260 watts, or 65 by 4 at 2 ohms. So this thing did above rated at 4 ohm, and it did just rated at 2 ohms per channel with all 4 channels driven. I give this thing an A+, man. Yes, it says 600 watts, but that's a max rating. We know Sony Explode. Come on, man. I think it did really good. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot we have to do the uncertified rating. There's still more this amp can do. I'm going to give it a second to cool down. I've been kind of testing it pretty tough off camera. So let's let it cool down, and then we're going to send an uncertified rating and see how much power this amp can do. Might be blowing a fuse in the meantime, but let's just find out. Holy, pulling 62 amps of current on 50 amps of fusing. That was pretty crazy. But we were able to get 392 watts out of this amp. That's pretty impressive of a difference of headroom for this amplifier. Yes, it's clipping at 11% distortion, but still, that's all 4 channels driven all together. That's pretty impressive. That's about what, 100 RMS at 2 ohms on every channel. Uncertified, we'll call it. Again, I'll give this, okay, it's an A-. It's an A- just because it didn't do 600 watts. Otherwise, this thing did as claimed. Alright, so we got some decent numbers out of this amp. It did rated, it did what, 65 watts, almost a 2 ohm rating at 4 ohms, but that was only 2 channels driven, mind you. And then we got 55 RMS, pretty much literally straight out of the amp on 2 channels each. We got that 260 watts. We got 261 watts for the rating that they list for all channels driven at 2 ohms. So, and then we got a lot more uncertified. We got almost 400 watts combined, almost 100 watts a channel out of this amp. So we almost did the 600 watts peak rating. I mean, it's close, but it's still, you know, it's a fail for the peak rating, but the RMS, it did rate, period. So with the Sony products, I feel like, especially this generation, you really have to look at the RMS ratings to get what they will really do. And that's whenever I got into car audio, I had some Sonys at a time. I had the 1100 watts or 1300 watt Pentagon looking ones, and they were pretty nice. But it was like, man, that's not 1100 watts or whatever. And you looked at it and it was 380 RMS or 350 RMS, one of the two. And that's kind of what you wanted to look for. And it was just pretty cool to learn that back then. And this type, style, and generation amplifier really reminds me of like the beginning of car audio for myself. So again, I just want to say thank you to all my Patreons for, you know, just supporting me, and everyone else that, you know, jumps on the lives every Friday that I do and donates. Man, I can't thank you guys enough. You know, it's crazy to get to this point. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't already seen on my post, I actually just opened up a merchandise store too. I'm not really trying to make money. I make like $4 off it. I just want to be able to get you guys merchandise for me, for the YouTube channel, and just to help me out in supporting me in that way, not financially, but by repping the Living Loud with Andy brand. So I just want to say thank you guys again, and if you made it this far, I appreciate you guys that actually watch till the end. Sometimes I do some bloopers, sometimes I don't. We'll find out what I do today. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Stay living loud, everyone. This is the Sony XM. We're gonna have to redo that, huh?